I'm Brian Van, sportbiketracker.com, and today we're going to install the R&G Racing engine overcovers on our 2017 STG Yamaha R6 project bike. Okay, the R&G overcovers. On the Yamaha R6, we have a three-piece kit. We're covering the clutch cover, ignition cover, and on the other side of the motorcycle, the stator cover. This is a 4mm thick polypropylene overcover. It's molded to slide over the OE cover. You're going to remove a few of the OE bolts, slide it over. There's spacers that go between the cover and the overcover, and then you have fasteners that hold it in place, okay? This looks similar to the GB Racing covers. We've done installs on those before, okay? So it's a product that's a similar concept. Where it differs is this covers the entire cover on each one, and it also has a replaceable puck in the center. Now, realistically, looking at this and having crashed a motorcycle a time or two myself, would you be able to get away with just replacing that slider puck? I mean, that's really going to depend upon the crash, okay? So if you get fortunate enough, it's a tiny little crash, or it doesn't make a lot of contact, you'd be able to replace that and have it looking like new again. When you install these, there is a spacer that goes between the OE cover and the over cover. So it's held out just a little bit from the actual original equipment cover. Okay, let's talk now about the installation itself with the product. And if you want to see it, you can watch it. It was really straightforward. You're just pulling a couple of OE bolts out, follow the instructions, get the spacers in the right place, use the right length bolts, put the washers in the right places, and I would say that they fit well. What I did notice with these is compared to the other brands that I've installed, the GB Racing, and then remember too, like Woodcraft has overcovers, Vortex has overcovers. Theirs are done in aluminum, right? Not a composite or a plastic, but in aluminum, so their fit is very precise. The fit of the GB Racing, that was pretty precise too. I found this to be just a little bit less precise than those. The pros are, you know, it covers the entire engine cover. So there's some little trade-offs here, but in the end, I think the installation of this was a snap. They fit well, they look good. You can see up here at the oil fill cap, you know, it's just the holes are just a little bit askew, and I did try to move that around a little bit. Is that a deal breaker? Is that even a big deal? No, not really. This full cover set is somewhere in the $30 less than GB Racing for the same bike price range, so there's a little bit of a savings there. So some pros, some cons. Overall, I think it's a good product for sure. Let's go over to the other side and take a look. Over here on the Stator side, you're removing a factory cover protector on the later Gen R6s, and then installing this, it goes right over the top, and you can kind of see here from the lip, I mean, that is literally covering the entire engine cover. So a little different strategy out of the box with the R&G stuff. The quality was nice, the installation straightforward, and I think the price is fair. If you want to see more details, watch the second half of this video. Okay, of course, in order to install the R&G overcovers, I gotta remove the fairings again. We're gonna show you some of it, but not all of it. The R&G frame slider kit that we put on, this is kind of interesting. The way you remove the center cap, you want to get in there with a pick and depress that tang, and it pops right out. You don't want to stick a screwdriver in there and wedge it and start tearing this all up. You can see they have just kind of a small circular hole, so a pick is gonna work the best. They look great, and the last thing you want to do is destroy that by going all primitive Pete with the tools, and I realize that is coming from the guy who does not use a torque wrench. We're going to show you some of this, but not all of it. Steve will fast forward through some. We did get a question today on one of the videos about how much would change in the oil be impacted by having that R&G no-cut frame slider kit, so we'll show you for sure the other side, what it takes to remove the fairing there. Okay, the R&G racing overcovers. This is a complete kit. We got clutch, ignition, and then we have stator. We're going to cover each one of them. They're bolt over covers. We've got new hardware that's going to replace the OE hardware, and their design has spacers that will be fitted between the overcover and the stock cover to maintain a gap like so, okay? This particular one for the clutch, we have 4 spacers, 4 fasteners, all of equal length. The only difference is there's only 3 washers. This fastener right up here, when you hold the cover up to it, you can see what we're going to be working on. This one is not going to get a washer by design. We're going to begin by removing this. We need some access here. Okay. Remove that retainer. I'm going to pull that driven oil fill cap. And once again, use the cover as a gauge. What are we pulling out? Okay. Make sure the engine's cold too. Don't do this when the motor's all hot. Kind of slip it over, get a look at it. We're going here, we're going here. Make sure you save all your stock fasteners. You never know when you may need these in the future. R&G does a nice job with the instructions. Got photos, exploded views, whole ball of wax. Okay, now we'll get the cover back up here, and we're going to be down in this corner here, and then one more right over here. It looks like this cover set actually goes all the way back, in terms of fitment, all the way back to 2006. Yamaha is definitely, the R6 has been such a great bike. Even with the redesign in 17, it did not need to be a ground up redesign. So there's a lot of items that are shared between the 2006 and the 2017 to 18. Okay, before we slide the cover in place, I'm gonna get all of these spacers inserted into the cover. Okay, it does look like they're gonna hold themselves in there, but I'll say this, they don't really engage super hard. Okay, so you're gonna wanna be careful sliding this into place. I wanna try and distort it as little as possible, so I'm not chasing these spacers all over the place. We'll give it a go like this. If not, I'll try and put something in there to help hold them in place if I need to, but hopefully we don't have to do that. The other covers that are more exposed, that's really not going to be an issue. But the clutch cover kind of tucks up inside the frame a little bit. You can see that. You can see that one just started to slip out. I've got the bolt in place. That's going to help me hold it. So you can see what I did there. I noticed that one started to pop out. So I slid the fastener in through that spacer just to help hold it in place while I was getting everything into position. The cover is not in there all the way yet. I'll make sure I just get the fasteners kind of going before I go too much farther here. Just going to get these started. You want to make sure that the cover is engaged properly with that spacer. Remember, this upper hole, there is no washer being used per the instructions, okay? Just the spacer is there. Now that I've got all the fasteners started, I'm just going to kind of tap on this lightly. I'll make sure we're engaging properly with all the spacers. And before I tighten any one of the individual fasteners down all the way, I'm just going to kind of run around. I want to make sure it's nice and even. Before I put any final torque. They do have torque specs included if you prefer to use a torque wrench. We're getting pretty close to the point when you would reach for it. And you can feel once all the fasteners have seated down. And now I'll give them their final torque. I'm going to run around these a couple times to make sure they're as even as possible. Okay, get our oil fill cap, reinstall that. Like so. Okay, I've got the clutch cover protector on. The mount for the coolant hose, I've got that back in place now. Let's take a look and see which fasteners we need to remove here. It's going to be here, here, and here. There is one longer fastener that's used on this cover, and it's going to be in this location right here. You can kind of see that in the OEM fastener as well. That one is longer. It's going to be to allow for that bracket that they have there for the clutch cable. So really important to get that lined out to begin with. Okay, since I have complete access here, I'm going to install these one at a time, okay? When you go to slide the cover, when you go to slide the spacer into the cover, it doesn't really hold itself there, which is a little bit challenging. Okay, if you try to put it all on as a unit, but the way this is all out in the open, not really a big deal, as you're able to touch each one of those without any trouble. Just need to make sure that you leave them loose enough so that you can manipulate the cover and get behind it. And this one here, remember too, we do have that retainer for the harness. Make sure that's in play. You know, actually, when you're just starting to thread these down, you're going to feel that spacer kind of align itself there. Once again, if you prefer to use a torque wrench, now is the time you'd want to go ahead and grab that. We'll put the final torque on these. And now we have the ignition over cover installed right next to the clutch cover. Okay, as we go ahead and get started on the Stator side cover protector, remember we installed those R&G Aero style no-cut sliders last week, and I've already gotten a comment on that video asking how is this going to affect removing the fairing. So we're going to be able to address that in this video, because when you do your oil change, that's something that you're going to need to do, right? So this process right here, this is the additional time that you would have to invest in fairing removal for that oil change if you want to pull it. I do think you could probably loosen this all up down low and pull it out of the way to get the oil filter, but you know, some folks don't like to tug on it, they actually want to pull it all apart, so it's going to depend upon what you are most comfortable doing. Okay, now I have the right size tool, we're good to go. So this is the additional time that you're going to have invested right here, because you will need to remove that half of the frame slider mount kit. From there, the fairing removal itself should be exactly as it was before. Okay, now we're ready to remove the fairing all the way from the bike. Once again, we're showing you this to kind of cover the addition of that R&G no-cut frame slider to the mix. It definitely makes it a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's really not too extreme, right? Just like that. So we've got half of the frame slider bracket off, the other half is going to remain in place. Okay, now it's time to install it. Same deal that we showed you on the other side. Okay, one difference here is going to be from the factory, Yamaha had added to the R6 this little Stator cover protector. This cover is really vulnerable. So from the factory, they included this cover protector. Pretty minimal at the end of the day, but it is there. So you need to first remove that, as this R&G overcover will not slide over that. Okay. We'll reinstall the fasteners before we take out the ones that need to be removed to install that overcover. All right, let's go ahead and line the cover up. We're going to remove here, here, and up here. Okay, there's the last one. As always, we're going to keep that. I want to double check those two fasteners that I put it back in after I removed that factory protector. Okay, now we have 3 spacers, a cover, and of course the fasteners. Let's see if these hold in there. Slide that into place. The one with the washer is going to go up here at the very top. The other two, per the instructions. Okay, so maybe I did look at the instructions. The other two do not use a washer. Make sure you keep your spacer in play. And then we'll go ahead and get these started. And make sure it gets centered on that spacer. Got to make sure they're all seated before we put any torque to them. It's really important that they're all even. If you're going to use a torque wrench, now's the time you'd want to grab that. There you have it. There is your Stator side over cover install.